All right, ready to jump into some domestic electrician interview prep.
Let's go.
We've got a really cool career guide for this one, an interview guide too, and some info about RoleCatcher.
Should be good deep dive.
Yeah, so we're going to try and help equip you with the knowledge you need to crush your interview.
Definitely. And not just giving you answers to memorize.
Right.
We really want you to understand this job so you walk into that interview feeling prepared and confident.
I like it. Let's get into it. Okay, first off, what does a domestic electrician even do all day?
Wow.
Our career guide says installation, maintenance, troubleshooting.
Yeah, and that is a pretty broad description.
Yeah.
But that's because you're working with the entire electrical system of a home, not just like changing out a light bulb. You're dealing with the service panel, the outlets, the wiring.
Oh, wow. I see.
It's a whole network.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the guide also mentions all these different work environments for domestic electricians.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, like, you're not stuck in an office, you're out and about.
No, definitely not. You're going to be going from, a construction site, working on a new house to an older house, maybe doing some troubleshooting.
Oh, wow.
So there's definitely a variety.
I got to keep things interesting.
Right. Yeah. If you're someone who likes to keep moving, this is the job for you.
Totally. Okay, so before we get into interview questions, this guide has a pros and cons section.
Oh, yeah.
And the pros look pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Job stability, independence, variety.
And that independence is really a big one. I mean, imagine going into a house, solving a tricky electrical problem.
Yeah.
The homeowner is so relieved.
I bet.
It's really rewarding.
That's awesome. But then the cons.
Yeah.
Physically demanding, safety hazards.
For sure.
We got to be realistic about those too.
Yeah, got to be aware of those. You're going to be on your feet a lot, working in some tight spaces, maybe some less than ideal conditions sometimes.
Wow.
So you really got to be prepared for that.
Good to know. Okay, so let's get into the good stuff now, the interview questions. Our interview guide is jam-packed with questions and tips.
Let's do it. Ready. Yeah, and remember, RoleCatcher can really help you fine-tune those answers.
Yo.
Their AI looks at job descriptions, picks out the key skills.
So you don't have to.
Exactly. It's like your own cheat sheet.
That's really cool. Okay, question number 1. What experience do you have as a domestic electrician?
All right.
It sounds simple enough, but how do you make your answer stand out?
The interviewer really wants to know if you've got the experience to handle the job.
Right.
So instead of just listing jobs like on your resume, talk about projects, about challenges you overcame, what you learned.
Right.
Even if you're new to this, like even if it's just rewiring a light fixture at home,
Yeah.
it shows you understand the basics.
So anyone can highlight relevant skills, even without tons of experience.
Definitely. Any training, apprenticeships, even volunteer work where you did electrical stuff, talk about it.
Oh, good tip. And what about certifications?
Yes. Certifications, safety training, those show you're serious.
Okay, makes sense. Next question. What are some of the most common electrical problems you've run into in your work?
Okay, so this one's about showing off your knowledge a little bit.
All right, like what kind of things?
Think about the stuff you see in homes all the time. Faulty wiring, overloaded circuits, problems with outlets, switches.
Right, everyday problems.
Exactly. But don't just name them. Explain what you did.
Okay.
How did you figure out what was wrong? What tools did you use?
And what if it was a tough one?
Even better, tell them how you thought outside the box to solve it.
So they see how you problem solve.
Exactly. They want to see that process in action.
And it all goes back to what we talked about before, right? The scope of the work.
Yeah.
It's not just fixing one little thing. It's understanding the whole system.
Absolutely. And they might even ask you a follow-up. Tell me about a time you troubleshooted an appliance.
Oh, good one.
Because you need to know how appliances work with the electrical system.
Right. It's all connected.
You're not just a handyman, you got to know the theory.
Got it. Okay, moving on to a big one. How do you ensure your work meets safety standards and regulations?
This is huge. They need to know you're all about safety.
Yeah, no cutting corners.
Definitely not. Talk about following codes, using proper procedures.
But what kind of procedures?
Things like lockout, tagout, that's a big one.
Lockout, tagout.
Yeah, it means making sure the power is completely off before you work on anything.
Oh, okay.
You lock it out and tag it with a warning so nobody accidentally turns it back on.
Makes sense. That's important.
Super important. And talk about wearing the right gear, double-checking your work.
Safety first.
Always. And staying up to date on the latest regulations.
Okay, next question is, How do you approach those really complex electrical installations or repairs?
Okay, so here they're looking at your problem-solving
Right,
skills.
like how you think things through.
Exactly. Can you handle those tough electrical puzzles?
So what should you tell them?
Talk about your process. Do you assess the situation first?
Make a plan.
Yes. Do you look at wiring diagrams, use diagnostic tools?
Get all the info first.
Right. And break it down into steps. Show them you can stay calm and analytical even when things get tricky.
That's a good one. And what if you don't know the answer? Like, sometimes those problems are really hard.
It's totally okay to say you don't know something, but show them you're willing to find the answer.
Okay, like what?
Say something like, if I encountered a problem outside my experience, I would consult wiring diagrams or manuals. I'd reach out to colleagues or mentors, and if needed, recommend bringing in a specialist to ensure the job gets done safely.
Shows you're responsible.
Exactly. You're committed to finding the best solution, even if it means asking for help.
Love it. And this is where RoleCatcher comes in handy again, right?
It does.
It can help you figure out what skills to emphasize in your answer.
Exactly. If problem solving is a big deal in the job description.
RoleCatcher will pick up on that.
Yep. And you can tailor your answer to really shine in that area.
That's so cool. Okay, last question for this part. How do you stay up to date with new technologies and all the changes in the industry?
This is so important in electrical work because things are always changing.
New gadgets, new systems.
All the time. So here, you want to show you're not just stuck in the past.
You're a learner.
Exactly. Tell them about any courses you've taken, conferences you've been to, industry publications you read.
Showing you're proactive.
Yes. And you can even mention specific technologies that you're excited about.
Like smart homes or renewable energy.
Perfect examples. It shows you're interested in the future of the field.
It's not just what you know NLW, but your willingness to keep learning.
That's what they want to see.
Awesome. All right, that was a lot of great info. Ready for a quick break?
Sounds good. So we were talking about always learning and adapting in this field.
Yeah, it's crucial. But, it's not all about circuits and wires.
Right.
You got to know how to deal with people, too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Being a domestic electrician, you got to have those people skills, clear communication, empathy.
Right, building trust.
Exactly. And explaining all that technical stuff in a way that, everyone understands.
Like breaking it down. Okay, so the interview guide has this question. How do you work with clients who don't really understand electrical systems?
Yeah, good one.
This is where those people skills really come in, right?
It is. They want to see if you can explain things clearly and patiently without being condescending.
Right, because you're the expert.
Exactly. They're relying on you to make sense of it all.
The guide suggests using analogies or a real-world example.
Oh, yeah, analogies are great.
Like comparing electricity flow to water in pipes.
Perfect example. You're relating something abstract to something familiar.
Makes it easier to grasp.
Yeah. Or explaining a circuit breaker, like a safety valve.
Oh, I like that.
It prevents the system from overloading.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what about those clients who are a bit more challenging?
Right. Not every client is going to be easygoing.
Yeah, some might be stressed or anxious or just clueless.
Exactly. So the key is to stay calm, listen to them, try to understand their concerns.
Even if you think they're overreacting.
Even then, validate their feelings, and then clearly explain your approach to fixing the problem.
And manage expectations too, right?
For sure. Make sure they understand the timelines, the costs.
No surprises.
Transparency is key. If there are potential delays or unexpected issues, communicate that up front.
Builds trust. Okay, next question is about teamwork. How do you approach working as part of a team on a project? Seems pretty standard.
Yeah, but especially important on those big construction sites.
Where everyone's going to work together.
Right, like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Electricians, plumbers, carpenters.
All those different trades. So what are some good points to make in your answer?
Highlight your communication skills, your willingness to listen, to give and receive feedback.
Being a team player.
Exactly. Talk about your experience on collaborative projects, how you handle challenges as a team.
And the importance of good communication to avoid mistakes.
Huge. Clear communication can prevent so many problems.
Okay, shifting gears now to organization. What steps do you take to ensure your work is done on time and on budget?
All right, this one's about those project management skills.
Even if you're not officially a project manager.
Right. Every electrician needs some level of organization.
So what should we tell them?
Talk about how you plan a project, break it down into tasks, make timelines, prioritize.
Lists, schedules, all that good stuff.
Yeah, do you use checklists, apps, software?
Any tools that help you stay on track.
Exactly. But then there are always those unexpected issues.
The curveballs.
Right. What happens then?
Things go wrong, the timeline gets messed up.
That's when communication is crucial again. If something comes up, flag it right away.
Explain the situation, the potential impact.
Exactly. And be transparent about any adjustments that need to be made.
Be proactive.
Yes. Take ownership of the project's success. Don't just wait for things to fall apart.
Makes sense. And how does RoleCatcher fit into all of this? Can their AI help with these kinds of questions?
Oh, definitely.
Really?
Remember, RoleCatcher looks at those specific job descriptions. So if they're emphasizing time management or organizational skills...
It'll flag that for you.
Exactly. It'll help you tailor your answers to show those strengths.
Wow. So it really is like a personalized guide.
It is. It helps you focus on what matters most to that employer.
That's awesome. Okay, let's tackle this next question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Classic question.
It always feels a bit tricky.
It is. You want to be ambitious, but also realistic.
Right, not too over the top. And this is where it helps to understand those career stages for a domestic electrician.
Definitely.
Remember that section in the career guide? It talked about entry-level, junior, intermediate, senior electrician.
Yeah, each stage has its own responsibilities, its own possibilities.
So how do we connect that to this 5 years question?
Well, if you're just starting out, you might talk about wanting to gain experience in different areas of residential electrical work.
Like becoming a lead electrician someday.
Exactly. Or maybe even specializing in a specific area, like smart home technology or renewable energy systems.
Oh, nice. And if you're already a junior electrician?
Then you might aim for more independence, taking on bigger projects, maybe even leading your own crew someday.
It's showing them you have a plan, a vision for your future.
But also aligning it with the company you're interviewing with.
Right, tailoring it to their needs.
Exactly. Do your research beforehand. Check out their website, their projects, their values.
So you can see where you might fit in.
And then you can tailor your answer to their specific growth areas.
That's a great tip. It
Yeah.
shows you're not just looking for any job, you're interested in them specifically.
Exactly. You've done your homework.
Okay, that was another good chunk of questions. What's next?
Let's dive into some of those tougher, more unexpected questions, the ones that really put you on the spot.
All right, welcome back. Ready for the final part of this domestic electrician interview dump dive?
Let's do it. We're tackling the tough ones now.
The curveballs,
Yeah.
the questions that really test you.
Exactly. These are the ones that show how you think on your feet, how you handle those unexpected problems that, inevitably pop up on the job.
All right, hit me with them. What kind of questions are we talking about?
Okay, well, here's a classic. Tell me about a time you made a mistake at work. What happened? What did you learn from it?
Ooh, yeah. That one can be a little intimidating.
It can be. Nobody likes to admit they messed up, right?
Right.
But the thing is, the interviewer, they're not looking for perfection.
They want to see how you handle those setbacks.
Exactly. Can you take responsibility? Can you learn from your experience? That's what's important.
So don't pretend you've never made a mistake.
Definitely not. Pick a real mistake you've made, something, with an impact, but not like a total disaster.
Right.
Be honest about what happened, but really focus on what you did about it. What steps did you take to fix it? What did you learn? Did you change your approach? Did you implement new procedures so it wouldn't happen again?
So if they see you've grown from it,
Right.
what if the mistake involved like a safety violation? That feels even harder to talk about.
Yeah, that's a sensitive one. But, honesty is still the best policy.
Okay.
If you messed up and it involves safety, acknowledge it. Explain what you did to mitigate any risks. And really emphasize how that experience, how it made you even more committed to safety protocol.
It shows you take it seriously.
Exactly. You're not afraid to own up to your mistakes, and you've learned from them.
Okay, I like it.
Hmm?
What's next?
All right, how about this one? Imagine you're working on a project and you hit a problem, something outside your expertise. What do you do?
Ooh, this is a good one. This really tests you.
It does. They want to see you think critically, use your resources, and know when to call for backup.
Okay, so walk me through it.
First, define the problem. What's causing it? What are the risks? Then, look at your resources. Wiring diagrams, manuals, online forums, and maybe reach out to some colleagues, mentors, see if they have any insights.
And if you still can't figure it out,
Don't be afraid to escalate. Say something like, This is beyond my current expertise, but I've done my research, and I recommend bringing in a specialist to make sure we handle this correctly.
That shows you're responsible.
Exactly. You're not pretending to know everything, but you're prioritizing the best outcome for the project.
Okay, that makes sense. How about dealing with difficult clients? We talked about communication before, but this feels like a whole other level.
Oh yeah, this is a real-world test. The interviewer wants to know, can you stay calm when things get heated? Can you de-escalate a situation? Can you find a solution that makes the client happy while also sticking to your professional standards?
So how do you answer that one?
Emphasize your listening skills. Show them you understand the client's concerns, even if they're not expressing them very well. Validate their feelings. Say something like, I understand this is frustrating for you, and then explain your approach.
Okay.
If they have unrealistic expectations, gently guide them back to reality. Offer solutions that meet their needs, but, stay within the scope of the project.
And the budget.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to set boundaries.
Oh yeah, that's important. You can't let a demanding client push you into doing something unsafe.
Absolutely not. Safety and your professional ethics, those come first. If a client is asking for something that compromises those, you gotta stand your ground.
And explain why.
Yeah. Say something like, I understand you're in a hurry, but I need to follow safety protocols. That way we make sure the work is done right and doesn't pose any risks.
Good one. All right, so we've gone through a lot of tough questions. Can RoleCatcher help with these too?
It can. Remember, it analyzes that job description, so if communication skills or handling pressure are highlighted,
RoleCatcher will flag them for you.
right, and you can use that to really tailor your answers.
That's awesome. It's like having a secret weapon.
It kind of is. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here, from understanding what a domestic electrician does to nailing those tricky interview questions. What are your final thoughts?
I think the biggest takeaway is to be prepared. Do your research, practice your answers, and use all the resources available to you, like RoleCatcher.
Absolutely. And remember, a job interview is a two-way street. It's a chance for you to assess the company, too.
Right, make sure it's a good fit for you.
Exactly. Ask questions, get a feel for the company culture, and make sure it aligns with your values and career goals.
Great advice. All right, that wraps up our deep dive into the domestic electrician interview. We hope you feel ready to go out there and land that dream job.
Best of luck.
And thanks for joining us.